Fellow nerds, we are talking Blue Beetle. This is going to be filled with spoilers. If you haven't seen our spoiler-free review, go to our YouTube channel, check it out. While you're there, maybe subscribe, like it, do all the YouTube things, put the link in the channel. But for tonight, we are talking spoiler-filled. So for the most part, I think we all didn't hate it. I say that because Doug and I enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought you thought it was average. Now you hate it?
No, I said I didn't hate it.
Oh, okay, good. I was like...
Average at best, but I didn't hate it.
I thought it was a little above average, but it wasn't as bad as it's funny, going into that movie, I really was dreading seeing that movie. I thought it was going to be god-awful. And it was enjoyable. And the trailers did no
justice.
At all. Yes, that's right. Yes, even ChatGPT says the movie is only fiction for entertainment, but we humans get into so much for heart. Yeah, and that was the best part of that movie was kind of the family dynamic.
He's keeping the joke going.
Yes. It's for the most part, I think it was a standard origin story.
Yeah.
Very standard.
They took a lot from other movies, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
From all of the movies.
From pretty much, yes. But overall, some of the performances were pretty good. Like George Lopez, who I thought was going to be extremely annoying in this movie, I ended up enjoying. I thought he did a good job.
Mm-hmm.
The Cobra Kai kid who played, Jaime Reyes, I thought was really good. I thought he did a good job. His sister, while at times was kind of a little too one-dimensional, was still decent at times. And the only problem I had was with the family was unfortunately the grandma, who, Dave talked about in the theaters too. It's all of a sudden she's, pulls her braids down and she's able to use a freaking, giant machine gun bigger than a 50 cal, hold it and fire. A Gatling gun, pretty much.
Yeah.
And, I'm sorry. I don't have any grandmothers left. But when I did, they weren't carrying Gatling guns around.
Well, how many of your grandmothers were revolutionaries?
Right. I mean...
Two.
I mean, that whole grandma story, I just thought it was childish, I guess.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it only because I think I've told you gentlemen before that I was surprised to find out that like my family doesn't have a squeaky clean past. I ended up finding out that my great grandpa ran a Detroit mob. So hey, we all got
you found that out after Blue Beetle?
No. I found that out. It was actually after I became a trainer at the company that we all worked for. So I want to say it was in 2016-ish, probably around that time. But yeah, my uncle released a book talking all about it, and my mouth kind of dropped open. And my mom, bless her heart, she's not always aware of everything going on around her. She goes, "That explains why he always carried a gun around and went out at night." I'm like,
Well, now, you've got Caleb. Thanks for jumping in the chat. Hasn't seen Blue Beetle, so you might not want to stick around, but you can check out our spoiler-free on YouTube, and we can't wait to hear what you think about it when you come in. Is there any hidden, trunks of cash at your house or your uncle's old house?
The only thing that we heard was that he used to carry all of his totally legally acquired monies in a hidden trunk within the trunk of his car. As far as where it ended up, I don't know. Couldn't tell you.
It's in your garage right now, under
I wish.
But
yeah, no. So when I when they revealed the whole grandma was secretly a murderer and going around and part of a revolutionary corps, knew how to use guns and find tunnels, and you could see this devious grin on her face as she's looking at the map. I'm like, that's funny. That's cute because you wouldn't expect that. It's like, um, she's supposed to be like the kindly, I'm so sorry that bad things happen to you, grandchildren, grandmother, and all of a sudden now the pigtail drop thing, that was a little weird. I guess it was just I don't know, maybe magical girl badass moment was what they're trying to pull off, but
I just,
I laughed.
when you're that old, I think if she would have been saying, okay, you go here, what we got to do is, fortified fire this way and this way, keep cover on, that would have been good. But her carrying around a freaking Gatling gun, I was just like, which is funny. We're watching
Yeah.
superhero movies. Dude's got a magic suit, and I'm like, there's no way that lady could carry that. Come on. But it did. It bugged me.
Everything you just described about her, Doug, is the reasons I didn't like it.
Really? No kidding.
Yeah, it was all. It would just seem like, I don't want to use the word cliche. It just seems like that was an obvious thing. They're gonna make Grandma something she's not, because she's the most docile one out of the crowd. And ooh, now look at her, she's awesome. I guess I've seen that too many times before, and I did have questions that night. Like, did she ever change her outfit in the whole movie? And I thought the reason for that, I think she wore the same outfit the whole movie, and I thought at the end she was just gonna like, all right, now I'm Army Tactical, or so. I thought something like that was gonna happen, but it never did. And I just,
one thing that I did, once I got past the terrible CGI, because the graphics bugged the hell out of me. Everything just looked too fake, like they didn't try. And I got to the point where I kept going back and forth, like, was this on purpose? Because the entire city looked fake. And that's why I made the comment that I did in our spoiler-free review, that it reminded me so much of the Speed Racer movie. Everything was bright and neon, and it didn't look like it fit. And so I started thinking, like, partway through the movie, I'm like, so this is just a cartoon. That's what this is. Like, everything is over the top, everything is wacky, everything is bright and going 100 miles per hour. It's a cartoon. And I think that must have been the style that they were going for. It's the only thing I can figure. I mean, I could be way off. And, maybe the director is going to be offended. Like, I don't understand. This is a very dramatic, serious piece of art form. And I'm sitting here calling it a shiny cartoon. But that's what it seemed like to me.
That was definitely it. Everything was definitely more vibrant and more positive. And that's a cool message to have, in a superhero movie, that everything's going to be positive. And, that's definitely what they were going for. To me, it was just still average.
It was about family.
Well,
I was
that's
with Doug when they first showed the city. I was like, oh no, we're getting the Flash again.
Yeah.
But the Blue Beetle suit actually looked really good. I think they did a good job on it. So then I was kind of like, okay, they're meaning to do this. It's supposed to look like that. And it stopped bothering me. I was like, okay, they're going for this aesthetic.
Every now and again, I would eye roll.
Choose.
The bubblegum moment, in the helicopter, I rolled. I was like, ugh, that looks terrible. Whatever.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because anyone who has kids knows that is almost directly out of Despicable Me 3. the villain in that show, Benjamin Bratz, he was like a child actor who turned supervillain.
Okay.
And he had gum like that he would use. And as soon as I saw the gum, I was like, she's like, that's not what you think it is. I'm like,
I already know
doing
that.
So there's one that was lifted from another movie. So let's mark that down on the list. As we go, we'll mark down more.
All right. So essentially, this was as if they took Iron Man's origin stories and like Green Lantern's origin stories, the movies, and they kind of just smashed them together ever so gently. So those were like the first, if we're going to talk about things that they plucked from other movies, those are, I'd say, the first two things that I picked up on was the fact that we've got this person who is essentially trying to get the hang of a suit tech. Now, he didn't build it, but he was trying to understand and get the hang of it. And we had like a very similar slapstick, trying to learn how to fly and get accustomed to using it and everything. And I was like, oh, all right.
Then
Cool.
was Spider-Man the second thing? I mean, with the
Now
suit
what
talking to
from
him.
Spider-Man? Because I remember you mentioned that the night of, and I couldn't pick up on what you were what your reference was to in
Well,
Spider-Man.
there's a suit that's talking to him, telling him, he's got kill mode or whatever.
Oh, that's what you meant. I chalked that up to like, but yeah, kill mode. Wow, you're right. Spider-Man: Homecoming,
And
and with
then,
the arms,
yeah.
you're right.
And there was some
Pick that up.
specific action scene that I saw that I thought Spider-Man, but I can't think of it right now, and I won't go back and watch it again.
Are you thinking Endgame when he did activate it and started killing a bunch of Thanos' guys?
Maybe it could have been,
Well,
but then
and then
there's
I
the
mean,
go ahead, Keith,
I was just to
before I
say,
move on to the next one.
going back to that Iron Man that Doug was talking about, the villain was basically a
Oh yeah,
bigger
that's
version of
another.
his suit almost. And then at
Yep.
one point, he brought out like electric whips, like Whiplash from Iron Man 2. So I'm like,
I looked at you and I
okay,
said that in the
are,
theater.
are we going to see a Mandarin villain here come up so they can do the whole trilogy
And
of Iron
rings.
Man?
Right.
And he'll never see me coming.
No, now, Keith, that would be way too serious for this.
That's true. This was a
And for
very
me, the one that bothered me was the Smallville reference.
Okay.
Go ahead, the button. There you go. When he puts on the shield and it cuts the bus in half. That happened in Smallville season 2, episode 2. So that was a ripoff. I don't know about a ripoff. I don't want to call it ripoff. Maybe borrowed.
homage.
Homage, yes, homage. And then the point where he's like this, and he's got each limb in what do they call those? A German wheel or whatever. And you've got Captain Marvel right there.
Yep.
When they were doing that to her. I know there was more. What else do we?
And the Incredibles, because remember in the first,
Yep.
this Incredibles 2.
Oh.
No, it's the first one.
The
where
first
he's
one.
stuck up in the thing, yeah.
And
Yep.
also Iron Man 3.
Oh yeah, he was on,
you're
on
right.
a bed.
You're right.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
When he was waiting for his suit of armor
So
to
they
come
did.
and
They hit
save him.
Iron Man 3. So they got all 3 Iron Men. Kudos, Blue Beetle.
I thought there was one more reference that they did.
Oh, I'm sure there was plenty more.
Well, there was like Shazam was kind of referenced when he was
Yeah.
trying to learn to fly and he couldn't handle it. But that's common from almost
Yeah.
every, which was done so well in The Greatest American Hero. For those of you as old as me who remembers, he didn't have the manual, so he was always flying weird and stuff. And the fact that they included it, I was just kind of like, we've seen this enough. And honestly,
And-
that's why
I am a little surprised that they did decide to go with an origin story. Like, you'd think they'd realize that most people who go to see superhero movies are kind of worn out from all the origin stories. I don't know if they felt they had to because not enough people knew who the Blue Beetle was. But I almost feel like they could have gone the Guardians of the Galaxy route, where with Star-Lord, we just had like real quick in the beginning. It was like, hey, this kid got abducted and now and you kind of figure out who his character is throughout the course of the movie. I almost feel like that might have been the better choice for them to go with in order to pull in a larger audience. Because the fact that they spent so much of the time, like they did a lot of tell, don't show. Like when they're supposed to do the opposite. When it comes to movies, you should always show us so we can understand the character. Don't like tell us who the person is. But when they're like, okay, we're getting ready to go pick up Jaime, who just graduated from college, and he's the first one in our family who graduated from college. And it was like, thanks, movie. But like, you don't have to literally tell us this stuff.
they really could have just had him with the scarab on to start.
Yeah,
Did a
that
little
would have been
exposition
like
to
I could have gone with like even if they would have stuck in like a flashback later on just to explain that it did get attached to him at some point or whatever. But yeah, I think it would have been better to show us a Jaime who already had the scarab and had been acting as a Blue Beetle. And then I think it would have made it better then when he discovered the whole, Ted Cord underground bat cave or beetle cave.
Beetle
Yeah, I
burrow.
think Beetle Cave.
Well,
You got somebody else? Oh, never
Well,
mind.
yeah.
Okay.
I want to offer promotion of your channel.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's okay.
Appreciate that, Sunlit Friendly, but we're good right now. And now we got thrown off. But
Yeah.
I think overall, Doug talked about it in our spoiler-free review on thing. Like during this movie, I would be like, okay, this is getting up. This is pretty good. This is pretty good. Then they would do something. I'd be like,
Yeah, that's what it did to me.
it might have
And
been
it
the
would
corny comedy.
see
think?
some of the comedy. There was corny comedy, and then there was some. Good
I
stuff
chuckled at some of
liked.
it. I really did.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a
didn't-
mix.
It wasn't like the first Aquaman movie where the jokes were kind of stale. They had some things that I laughed at, and I was like, okay, that was pretty good. Way to go. And then there are others I was like, we've seen that a lot.
Right.
Please stop.
Did you think for 1 minute that George Lopez was dead at that point where they shot the thing he was standing on?
No,
Not even.
I don't
for a
know why
second.
he would have thought that.
I
didn't even
have
look
no
like it.
idea. To me, they didn't do anything that would have led me to believe that.
Right. It looked to me
So-
like he got out. It even looked like he got out of there before it happened.
Yeah.
So,
So unless there was like a cut scene or something, I don't know.
yeah.
You know what? That could explain it. I didn't think about that. Doug might be right. If there's a cut scene that ended up not making the movie,
And then
That
they
made it
just
look-
didn't change the line. They're like, nobody's gonna notice. It's a friggin' origin
no.
story. Who cares? But yeah, so there was plenty that was a little questionable in this movie. So like so far we've talked about the CGI wasn't always great. The suit was good. The suit was good, at least in my opinion. Dave, what did you think about it?
It looked a lot like Ironheart. In
I thought it was better than Ironheart. I was
I did
It was
too.
better.
the Ironheart suit.
It was better, but it did look like Ironheart in Wakanda Forever.
see, I didn't see that at all because
Mhm.
Ironheart. When I saw it, I was kind of like, why did they make that choice?
Yeah,
And
it
every
looked
time I
really
saw
bad.
this, I was like, okay, I thought that was a good rendition of Blue Beetle.
But then, like when we would see the city, I was like, "That's bad." When they showed like the hologram sign going around one of the skyscrapers, the bubblegum moment, the lab where they were trying to download the scarab's data, which is another weird moment that I'm not gonna go into too much. I kind of mentioned it in our spoiler-free review. I think I mentioned it then, maybe, or either that I was just talking with you guys about it. But briefly, I understand they do this a lot in movies where when you've got a cast and crew that doesn't fully understand like how technology works, or they don't care how technology works for the purposes of the movie. The goofy superhero movie where the boy gets alien tech and has a beetle attached to his back. The fact that it bothered me that they were going to download the data from the beetle. I guess it shouldn't have bothered me, but it still did because it's just not how that works. It's not how any of that works.
No, they can download your brain right now, Doug.
I
Come on.
bet they could.
But that's because he's human. This is an alien scarab, Dave.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But even the scene where she like steals his badge, she goes in and she steals the scarab and she puts it in the big belly burger, which is the DC thing. I'm laughing because he got back into there no problem. Did she go back and give him his key back? But then he walks in and this thing that she has been looking for, which for
They had
10,
no
15
alarms
years.
on it, nothing.
Yeah,
Right.
there was very little security, and instead of the guy who's supposed to be studying it, instead of walking in and being like, "Oh my god," or trying to get in like, "Oh my gosh, my badge isn't here,"
He
sounding
grabs his
alarm.
burger first.
Yeah, he has to walk in and like, "Oh, let me have that burger." I'm just like, don't. He's a little chubby. Let's not make fat jokes. In a movie here.
Come on,
It could have been-
Sanchez.
Yeah, it could have been so much better handled if he had got to the door and been like, my badge was stolen, like hit the alarm or something. That was just, I don't know. That scene was
and when they did
just
that
not
too,
executed
when they
very
walk-
well.
When they walk by and they run into each other and then she had the badge. I'm thinking that was I thought it was planned. I thought he was in on it the way it looked, and then when he comes back and he's surprised, all right, that's terrible. That's terrible acting, dude. Not like, well, not like the actor, but within the movie, bad.
It was just a bad script at that part. That was
Sanchez. And when they said his name, Dr. Sanchez at the end, and he had like 15 names he was reeling off, I thought to myself, now this is going to sound terrible, but I thought to myself, I know why she called him Sanchez. Because he had too many
she's a terrible person.
He had too many names to remember. But yeah, like Doug was saying at the theater, though, she's the first one-dimensional villain we've had in a long time in these superhero movies.
I was surprised, and this is gonna sound weird coming from me. Don't take this as something that I want to see all the time. But because we hadn't seen such a one-dimensional, I'm evil for the sake of being evil, like villain in such a long time, it actually brought a little smile to my face because, like I said, within like the first half an hour of this movie, I'd kind of decided, okay, so they want this to be a cartoon. That's what this is. This is just a goofy cartoon. And so when we got to know the villain, I'm like, yeah, that tracks. That fits within this stupid world that this is all taking place in. And I was like, I kind of appreciate it because for so long we've had all of these villains, which I appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
Put that out there. I appreciate villains with more of a backstory and more of a, there's this reason why I'm doing this thing, and it's a little more nuanced, and this is all gray area. I like the fact that she was just like, yeah, no, I'm greedy and I want money and power. And it's like, oh, wow, we haven't had one of those in forever. Okay, sure.
See, but it would have been, I would have liked it better if she, instead of like walking past the blind guy and stealing change out of his cup and then kicking like a homeless dog, it would have been better if like when they like in the beginning when she fired Jaime and his sister from the thing, if she'd been like, no, you know what, I understand. You guys are just trying to make ends meet. It's no problem you went there, but she's like, you're fired. I am just a bad person all around. I was like, okay,
see,
it's
like
very
I said, by
cartoony
that point
now.
By that point, I just accepted it. I was like, all right, cool. That's exactly what you are. All right, I will go for it this one time because we haven't had it in so long. I will take the cheesy villain. I'm like, all right, I'll take some goofiness for 500, Alex.
Arnold, I'm starting the clock.
Yes. I didn't like his sister. I thought his sister was over the top at most times. She was pretty cool throughout most of it, but she did a lot of stupid things that stupid sisters would do in movies, not that real people would do, and that would still bother me. I just thought she was over the top.
See, you know which scene I did like, though, that was kind of silly and over the top? When he was going in to try to get the job, and they're like, all, hi, me. Yeah, and he's like, hey, great. Throw a Molotov cocktail, do this. I'm like, okay, because trying to embarrass my kids doing stuff like that is something I enjoy as a parent. I was like, okay, that's awesome.
I was literally thinking that. I'm like, this is some nonsense that my family would do because they're just as dumb and goofy and embarrassing all the time. I'm just like, I feel you, Jaime. I feel it because like I know this is something that my mom and dad would do.
I watched it and I thought, that's so stupid. Why would somebody do that on such an important job to this boy? He made it out of college. He's going to work for his big company, and you're going to go outside and hit the horn and yell at him as he walks in the building? No.
Because they're cartoon characters, Dave.
See, I could see people doing that even outside of cartoons.
Yeah.
Just because, you constantly give crap to each other.
You know some weird people, Keith.
Yeah, I will introduce you to my family members one day. I'm sure if I didn't drive myself to the movie theater, I'm sure if I had to like ask my parents, my mom would be like, "All right, have fun doing your podcast. Good job, fellas."
Okay, we'll be back later to pick you up. Come on out. I will be here waiting for you. I'll bring a chopper.
But actually, one of the other positives for this movie was actually some of the fight scenes. I thought the choreography was pretty good. I thought they made the right choice in the Cobra Kai kid because obviously he could make some of those martial arts moves, so it seemed fluid and good. They.
By the way, I went to go look up his name, and I was like, nope, I am not going to try to pronounce that. Never mind.
Me neither.
Xolo.
Until I hear someone say it like 30 times, I'm not trying. But, like when he came and saved the family, landed, used the shields, the suit was helping him. And I think it was Doug that mentioned, I don't think it was on the air for our spoiler-free review, but talked about how in the comics, it took a very long time for them kind of to be on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
And this movie, they got there a little quick for my taste because if the character comes back, he's not going to have that, fighting alongside, fighting to get things done how he wants to do it. They're like, we're on the same page now. I just thought that was an odd choice to make. Something that could be done throughout multiple movies with him trying to gain control, get the upper hand, and kind of that backfighting. I thought would have been better to keep pushing the story along rather than resolving it at the end of the first movie.
But I will. Movie coming out. No more movies coming out from this version of the Blue Beetle.
But we didn't. I don't think the director knew that going into the movie.
I don't think so either.
That's true.
But yeah, I would say, while I agree with you, I do like the fight choreography, and I liked, I did chuckle quite a bit at his interaction with the suit, mostly because in Young Justice and in the DC animated universe movies, what was it? DCAMU? Yeah, the DCAMU. Sorry, I always forget what the thing is. Those movies where they had, Son of Batman and Batman, or the Justice League versus Teen Titans. It was, I believe, the same voice actor from that and Young Justice, and their version of the Blue Beetle in both instances acted the same and was constantly fighting with the Scarab for control. And as I don't remember if we mentioned this in the spoiler-free review, but for those of you that don't know a lot about this is the new 52 version of Blue Beetle. For those that don't know anything about it, the Scarab is not from planet Earth. It comes from another world, and it is meant to attach itself to somebody who it chooses, and then it's meant to be a conqueror. It's meant to kind of conquer that world for whoever created the Scarabs originally. And it had attached to a number of other different hosts as well, including they show us in Young Justice it even attached to a Martian. And the only reason why he was able to not be taken over by the Scarab is due to, as he mentioned, his shape-shifting abilities. So it's something that Jaime is always struggling with in every instance that he's shown. He's constantly fighting for control of the Scarab because the Scarab just wants to murder and kill everything. And for them to resolve it that quickly at the end, where it was the Scarab that told him, no, we don't kill him. Like, oh, wow, you guys came buddy like super quick. I get that there are certain things that you have to do for the sake of a movie. And obviously, since this is an origin story, you want to wrap everything up in a nice, neat bow. So I can accept it for the sake of, for the fact that this is an origin story. And if they were going to use him in other instances, if they were going to do another Justice League movie or something or whatever, they would probably want him to already have the Scarab under control. But honestly, I think that's what makes him more of an enjoyable character, is the fact that he's constantly fighting for control. It's like his kryptonite.
Yep.
And that's the other movie it referenced, Venom.
Oh, the 5 movies is over, or the
Venom.
5 minutes is over.
Oh, okay, yeah, Venom. Venom would be the other movie that they referenced.
You're right. I forgot about that.
At the theater, going Venom. But I did notice that more than any other superhero movie I've seen, he required help to get out of a lot of situations.
Oh yeah,
like his family helped him out when he was pinned down more than once.
I was okay with that because they kept preaching this whole family thing, and the reason why the villain was so villainous was she was alone and had no family.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, if you remember too, the first Iron Man, like he needed Pepper Potts to defeat, the Ironmonger. Shield was there helping him when Obadiah Stane took not the Tesseract, his power source out of his chest, and he was going downstairs to get the other one, his little machine.
Yeah.
I can't remember what that power source is called.
The arc reactor.
Arc reactor, yes.
Arc reactor, yeah. He was going down to get the other one, and he collapsed, but his little droid handed it to him. It's okay to need help occasionally, especially, I think, in an origin story, because you haven't quite mastered being a superhero yet. You're still learning things. So yeah, that certainly wasn't anything that I found fault in the movie.
It just happened a lot more in this movie than in any other superhero movie that I've seen. And
Sierra says,
like, he didn't plan on being a superhero. He didn't train for it or nothing. He just came back from college and was attacked by the Scarab. So I can understand him needing help. I'm just saying that he needed it more than any other superhero I've seen.
And Sierra said, so some bad, some good. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not going to be blown away by this movie. You'll probably enjoy some of it. And I roll at a few other scenes.
To be fair, and I admitted as much later on when I posted about it on Facebook. I did enjoy this movie. I did chuckle at quite a few of the scenes that, like I said, very, very goofy, very cartoony. I did laugh at a couple of different moments in the movie, especially with the uncle and all of his shenanigans. George Lopez, yeah. I was chuckling a lot at that. But I also freely admit that we've seen a lot of terrible movies lately, and it could be because I needed a good palate cleanser, and this is better than some of the terrible movies that we've seen lately.
You're not wrong.
If we'd seen this immediately after, say, Winter Soldier, we'd be like, this movie was the worst movie we've ever seen, because we had just seen a masterpiece. So we're not seeing masterpieces. So these are getting 5s.
I think
you rated it a 5. I think I rated it a 7 or a 7.5.
7.5.
Yep.
And I gave it the same.
All right.
Yeah.
I definitely gave it a lot of a pass for much of it. Like, I wasn't as hard on this particular movie as I am in a lot of other instances. Like The Flash, I couldn't give that one a very good rating just because a lot of what we saw, like the choices that they made as far as like the story and the CG and everything, it seemed like a lot of it wasn't intentional. It was just bad. Like, you had people that were just really bad at what they were doing. For Blue Beetle, and again, I will totally take back my score if it does turn out that I'm wrong. It seems like it came across to me that most of the choices that they made for the way that this was presented was intentional.
Yeah. So is anyone's rating changed since last Thursday, which wasn't that long ago? Because personally, I'm still at a 7.5. I haven't seen it again. I wanted to go see it, but no one would go see it with me. But I still, the good I thought was pretty good. The bad wasn't as bad as, I think Doug made a good point, as what we've seen recently, especially in the last DC movie. So it was good. I enjoyed it. It wasn't great. It's not going to knock your socks off. I think you get some good acting. You got a nice family dynamic for the most part. And it's all about family in this movie. You got, a one-dimensional villain who is fine for what this movie is and what she's needed to do. And, for me, I loved that we got the backstory of Ted Kord in the original Blue Beetle a little bit, because I know Doug, I don't think he mentioned it here. He was talking about the New 52. In that comic, they almost wipe out Ted Kord completely.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's like, okay, he's there, but we're not ever talking about him. And I was worried this movie was going to do that.
Him.
And this we get, he's a pretty good part of the storyline.
Mm-hmm.
And I liked it. His daughter helps Jaime and his family, and it's Ted Cord, or it's a Ted Cord's sister is the villain. I can't remember her. I want to call her Barbara Cord, but I know that's wrong. So it's
I think it started with an S. Sharon Cord.
Shakaran?
Veronica. No, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Victoria. I don't know.
Oh, maybe
Shakira.
that sounds Shakira. Yeah. But I mean, overall, like it wasn't anything new or special. Or
Victoria,
great.
you had it.
Oh, thank you.
But I think it all, for the most part, worked, and I enjoyed while I was sitting there watching it. But once again, it's nothing super original. It's nothing that is going to blow your socks off. They made some good choices. They made some bad choices. I personally found it a little above average at about a 7.5.
Same.
I would recommend seeing it at the theater because I think you get some good scenes out of it. You might miss on a smaller screen. But overall, a good time at the theater.
Yeah, I had a good time. I don't think my score is going to change either.
Yeah,
Like I said, I will take it back. What's that, Dave?
I was just saying, if you're looking for a lot of depth in the plot, you're not going to find it.
Oh God, no, you're not going to find it. That's not what this is.
Not every movie needs a deep plot. You can have simple
This
plots.
is not Oppenheimer.
Yeah, exactly. You can have simple plots that are very engaging, and I don't think this was that, but it was better than getting curb stomped.
You know what else this movie didn't
Our
do?
new catchphrase.
Yes.
This movie didn't ruin any other movie. It didn't drag anyone else down with it. So, like,
No
I was
Wonder
actually-
Woman in this movie. I
Huh?
love it.
Oh,
No
yeah.
Wonder
yeah,
Woman
there was no
movie.
Wonder Woman. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like they didn't feel the need to like drag any other characters into the mud. Like you knew that it's in the DC universe, but
Now,
it was kind of pretty self-contained.
there was a rumor going around that Ben Affleck had a voice cameo in this movie.
Oh yeah?
And the rumor was that James Gunn took it out.
Oh, good for him.
Now, they were saying they think he took it out just because it's leading into the DCU. They don't want to confuse anybody. But he came out and said, if there was a voice cameo from Ben Affleck and Blue Beetle, I never heard it. I never saw it. Neither did Peter Safran. We did not take it out of this movie. And I think we got to give him the benefit of the doubt. He's always been, if he comes out and
Pretty
comments
upfront.
on something, he's telling the truth. Until
Yeah.
he's proven otherwise, I believe him. So,
Except when he said The Flash was a good movie. He did not know.
well, maybe he thinks it's a great movie. I don't know.
Maybe he saw a different cut of it.
Yeah, true. Or he's like, as the co-president of DC, studios, this movie needs to make some money. It only ended up losing like $260 million.
Yeah, just imagine if he hadn't said anything.
Weirdly enough, people are jumping to its defense now that it's streaming. And they're saying, oh, yeah, I never saw it in theaters, but now that I've watched it at home, it's good. I can't believe how many people are saying that now. It's odd.
They're getting paid.
It could very well be. That might
Man.
be the case because didn't like that movie. It was not a good movie.
Yeah, in that movie, the dialogue was terrible. I hated the main character, and I hated the main character's doppelganger.
Yep.
Like, everything about that movie just irked me some way or another. There was very little good outside of Michael Keaton in that film.
Yeah. He definitely carried whatever was good in that movie. And his character even had some a stupid arc. But we're not going to rehash. We're not going to go
We've
back
already
to
went
the
to
editing room
Flash.
with the Flash.
And then I also learned one other thing, and we can finish this out and then talk Ahsoka, but
Ahsoka.
who the director wants to play Ted Cord in the sequel. And he didn't say if the voice at the end in the post-credit scene, because for those of you that don't know, the post-credit scene is basically back in the Beetle cave, and you hear a voice saying, "Thank you, whoever turned my computer back on. Can you hear me? This is Ted Cord." And the director wants Jason Sudeikis to play Ted Cord.
Now we'll see what happens there.
If it was going to remain in that universe, maybe. Yeah, I could possibly see that because it seems like the Blue Beetle that existed in that world, the Ted Cord Blue Beetle that existed in that world, it seemed like he was he had, ooh, shiny syndrome. Like they even make a comment that's like, oh, it's like Batman's utility belt, but worse.
Yeah.
Oh wow, the tech is really bad. And like they kept making these comments about like how like it was so off the wall, so unusual, and wow, he really liked Beatles, huh? He kind of went all in on that, huh?
Didn't they say anything about the Green Arrow then? I mean, come on, he's just another Batman, right?
Well, if you watched Arrow, he's just another Batman.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
boy.
Oliver Queen in the comics was a lot different than Bruce Wayne.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
They
I'm
really
talking, yeah,
went.
we're talking. What's that guy's name? Benetti? Is that what's Benintendi? Berlanti. The Berlanti
Yeah, Berlanti.
universe. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
where
they definitely.
there's two Batmen.
And it probably helped that show that they went a little darker with his, because Oliver Queen was always a very jovial cat and making jokes and stuff, and I think they wanted to pull in as much Snyder people as they could with a darker version. You have failed this city. I will not strike for my fellow actors.
Now, in a 1v1 battle, who would win, Green Hornet versus Blue Beetle?
Which
Ted Cord
Blue Beetle?
Ted Cord Blue Beetle.
I was gonna say Jaime all day, every day.
Wait a
But-
minute.
Oh, you mean
You're
the
saying
guy with
Green
the
Hornet-
gun versus?
Bruce Lee, Green Hornet?
No.
He played Kato. He didn't play the Green Hornet. He played Kato.
Oh, is that right? How am I expected to know that? That was 50 years ago. I just knew he was on the show.
Oh, I'm
So
the oldest
Robert
one here.
Carradine, Keith Carradine.
No. What's his name from Superbad?
Yeah,
Seth Rogen. But
Seth
he
Rogen,
wasn't
yeah.
he wasn't the superhero.
He wasn't Green Hornet?
No, he was the guy who drove the car. He wasn't the actual superhero.
Oh, wait, who played Green Hornet then?
The same
hey.
guy who played I can't think of his name. Never mind.
You've Got Caleb just came back, and this is very. He said,
Oh yeah, no. It says Seth
Oh.
Rogen, Green Hornet.
Well, he wasn't the actual hero though. Did you watch that movie?
A long time ago. That came out in like what, 2010 or something?
Yeah, it was a while ago. He couldn't do anything. The guy who actually did the things was the Asian guy. That was Bruce Lee's character, but I don't remember his name, the actor's name, or the character's name. To tell you the truth,
They have
Kato.
Kato as Jay Chow played Kato. Cameron Diaz played Lenore Case. Christoph Waltz was in that. I don't remember that. Wow.
must have been the bad guy. But
Probably.
then I'm right, because Bruce Lee was the superhero,
"No,
And
Bruce
the
Lee
other
was
guy-
Kato."
right? But
All
Green
right.
Hornet didn't do anything. He just took credit.
I don't.
In the Seth Rogen movie. I think that wasn't necessarily the way it was in the comics and with
Right. Yeah.
It did it for X. But here, You've Got Caleb just put an interesting comment in our chat. Talking about James Gunn, he said, he definitely saw a different cut. I saw a different movie. I went to a test screening with a friend of mine. He's a VFX artist. No, he didn't work on his film. I saw a cut with Michael Keaton, Batman, and Supergirl at the end of the film, and as a whole was okay. The film they released was absolute garbage.
I figured there must have been a different version because it did not make sense that like that seemed very slapped together.
It would have to be a completely different movie. Completely.
Well,
It wasn't
hopefully,
great.
Think of just like one or two changes here and there that would make that movie worth it. No, it had to be a whole different thing. I'm telling you.
Mhm. Yeah, I was
Honestly-
not a fan of Ezra Miller throughout that entire movie, unless he acted totally different in the cut that you're talking about. I don't know. I don't know that I still would have liked it.
and honestly, that movie would have been a lot better if it would have been Barry Allen, Wally West, and then the Reverse Flash instead of
It would have been
three
great.
variants of freaking Barry Allen. That really didn't do it.
You
It
want to
really
know
didn't
who
do it
knocked
for-
you You want to know who knocked you out of the time stream, Barry? It was me. It was me the whole time. Eobard Thawne. Oh, that's a dumb name. Shut up, I'm from the future.
Eobard? How old are you? Are you like the Headless Horseman? What the hell?
And don't forget to hit us up at Twitter, leave a comment down below, and we will see you next time on Not Your Status Quo.